to another episode of What is Health, and today we're going to be talking about blood sugar dysregulation. This is something I'm very passionate about, especially as a ketogenic nutritional therapist practitioner. It's something that matters a lot to me because blood sugar dysregulation causes so many other issues. And as we're going to dive into, we're going to see that it's much more than just about food. So my hope is that by the end of this video, you see that holistic health really does matter, which is why, my coaching business, Keto Road, True Nutrition, is about holistic health. It's more than just giving you macros. It's about helping you figure out everything else that surrounds what goes on your plate, because all of it matters. I'm not in some fancy shirt today. I really like this shirt. Never settle for just enough. Always go for more. So let's get right into it. Blood sugar regulation. What is that? So basically, it's our body's ability to regulate our blood glucose. That is the amount of sugar in our system. We have to understand that our body does need glucose to survive. About 30% of our body runs on glucose. Now, that does not mean that we need carbohydrates. Our body can derive glucose from fatty oxidation when we break down fatty acids for ketones. A glycerol molecule is left over, and that can be converted into sugar. Proteins can be converted into sugar. Lactate can be converted into sugar. There's a lot of ways that our body can produce glucose, and it's not necessarily needed from exogenous carbohydrate sources. So that's why even people on keto can still fuel their body with 30% glucose, because your body will find a way to make it. So that's something to know. Understanding that is something that we have to recognize, is that our body does need some glucose for certain functions, and that's totally okay. But keto tends to generally be a good switch, and we see a lot of benefits from the regulating side of things when it comes to blood sugar due to many reasons. One, in general, is that refined carbohydrates in the diet come down. So what happens a lot is we eat a lot of refined processed carbohydrates. Blood sugar spikes, insulin's released, insulin resistance happens over time, and we have a really sensitive issue on our hands. So when you go keto, you go low carb, even paleo, you tend to remove a lot of those high glycemic foods. And so blood sugar tends to be a little bit more stable. But the thing is that food is not the only thing that matters when it comes to blood sugar regulation. Let me explain why. So blood sugar regulation is dependent on an axis. An axis is a 3-point kind of like cycle. And this is called the hypoaxis. There's a hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal glands, your hypoaxis. You also have a HPG axis, which is your hypothalamus, pituitary, and gonads. And that's focused more on not stress hormones, but more on sex hormones. So you have different axes in your body where different glands communicate with each other to provide different functions. So blood sugar regulation is controlled by that entire axis. Not just the adrenals, but the entire axis, right? The pancreas is also involved in this with the releasing of insulin. So we've got about 4 glands that are playing a pretty pivotal role in this blood sugar regulation thing we've got going on. But I want you to gather is that the adrenals, pituitary and hypothalamus, aren't necessarily blood sugar glands. They're hormonal glands, okay? The adrenals release cortisol in stressful environments to increase blood sugar because sugar is a quick means of energy. It allows us short bursts of energy that allow us to get away from the tiger, right? Understand that our body can't differentiate between physical stress, emotional stress, whatever. Everything is the tiger that your body is told it needs to get away from. And so your adrenals release cortisol for you to be able to do that. When cortisol is released, blood sugar rises, insulin gets released. You see where I'm going with this? You see how this is flowing? So what we see is that people with chronically stressful lives, even on a low-carb ketogenic diet, while it can be beneficial, it does not completely solve the problem. And that is because there are more underlying issues. There are stress issues. There are, stressful jobs, stressful family, stressful this. We can go on and on the list of things that might be stressing you out. But understand that that's affecting your health. That's affecting your weight loss. Not being able to manage your stress is really, really a big factor in being able or not being able to regulate that blood sugar. And it goes to show, when people get stressed out with their kids, I've had friends that have tested blood sugar before and after they got mad at their kids, not intentionally, but the blood sugar shot up like 30 or 40 points. It's because cortisol got released to handle the stressful situation, to get away from the tiger that was the 5-year-old. And so understand that's a big part of it. And with a lot of clients, I really work with them on developing stress life management tactics. One of the big ones is sleep. Sleep is a great way to reset cortisol levels. It's a great way to get adrenals to calm down. But understand that sleep isn't an only player. You can't just fall asleep. You have to get away from blue screens. You've got to make sure that you're digesting food well. We go back to digestion. If you don't have the right minerals, your body's going to have a hard time producing tryptophan or melatonin because it doesn't have tryptophan. So sleep is a powerful tool, but everything else has to be following suit. Again, that's why it's called the 5 Foundations. That's why we're going over all of them in the series. They all tie in with each other. So you have to be digesting well. You have to make sure you're getting in the right minerals, vitamins, and proteins. And you need to make sure that you're staying off blue screens late in the night so that your body knows it's nighttime. Your body confuses blue lights with sunlight a lot. And even with blue light blockers, your body's still focused on something. And understand that the blue light affects your body's idea of what time of day it is, but the stimulus and the stress of watching something, especially if it's emotional, your body's trying to get away from the tiger. Even if it's through a TV, your body receives signals and it responds to them and how it knows how. Survival. So understand that watching things late into the night, they keep us up. That sleep affects us. It doesn't allow our bodies to reset. So sleep is a really powerful tool if done properly. And take a couple of those tips and a couple of those things that could be hindering you, I talk to you about, and try to remedy those and see how it affects your sleep. The second one is taking meditation and prayer time. Finding time in your day to really just decompress. Separate yourself from the situation. Work is going to be there. Family is going to be there. Food is going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Your hot dogs aren't going to grow legs and run away. But your sanity isn't always going to be there unless you keep on top of it. So really making sure that you're creating a good, I don't want to say balance, but a prioritization of self-care and separation and time to decompress from life. That and sleep right there can make huge differences in your blood sugar regulation. I have seen people with severe metabolic syndrome do that with a ketogenic diet in so many profound aspects. But I've also seen people with metabolic syndrome only do a keto diet and not address any of that. And no matter what we did, no weight loss. Nothing. Because their lives are just so overwhelming. And just because you don't feel stressed, it doesn't mean you're not. A lot of people can get calloused to an extremely stressful life. They get okay with it. This is just my life. It shouldn't be. But our bodies were meant to be able to take time in a parasympathetic state, which basically is a relaxed state. We have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Your body deserves to be in that parasympathetic state. Another thing you can do is walk. Going for walks is a huge way to not only tap into fat stores, which, for weight loss junkies and people with weight loss goals, is a great thing, right? It's very lipogenic. It taps into fat stores very easily, but it's also a great stimulator of the parasympathetic nervous system. And so going for walks throughout the day, taking a step away from the desk and walking to the break room and back, taking some deep breaths in between, maybe putting in your favorite song and listening to it. Things like that can be so, so powerful when it comes to regulating blood sugar. And so like I said, at the beginning of the video, what I hope you get from this is that blood sugar regulation is more than just food. And if you're on keto, but your blood sugar is over 100 all the time, and you're still stressed out, you have lower back pain, you're having a hard time staying asleep, and you're not losing weight, there might be something going on in life outside of diet that's affecting your body's ability to not be in a stress state all the time. And if your body's in a stress state, it's trying to survive, and so it's going to try everything to hold on to things it might need later, like your body fat. So, and I know it sounds simple. It sounds simple, like, oh, that would make sense, but is that really what's going on? It sounds so simple, it couldn't be true, but it is true. And while it sounds simple, it's very intricate and complicated at a hormonal level, in your endocrine system. So take some of those tips that we talked about, try them out, see how they affect you. And of course, if you want to work with me one-on-one, if you want to dive into this more, either through nutrition coaching, or if you want to get really in depth to get some bioanalysis, really get me to dig into your symptoms and signs and what we can do, nutritional therapy might be an option for you. So that's it for this video, guys. Till next time.